So that came up again and again and again, and I couldn't really answer that question. The second one, when with Suitability Trust, we ran workshops and events in Kuras or on Marais. Always fantastic interaction, everybody having fun, achieving. When can we do more? When can we do more? After the event, when we then tried to follow up and arrange that, it got quiet in the room, and we struggled to, get in contact and get organized and progress from there. And again, it was sort of me, why is that? And then, while being out there, it was at a kindergarten here in Auckland, where we were providing a workshop, and one of the Maori teachers, woman, a wahine there, asked me, wow, that is amazing. There should be more of that. Why isn't that not so available and happening? And I told her a little bit that, I'm working on that, but I'm a little bit stuck. And she said, what you should do is come together, kanohi kitea, face to face with people, with leaders, and start talking, and it will take a while, but that is so important. I really encourage you to get that started. So I did, listening to the advice and taking the name she gave us for that journey, how important it is to kanohi kitea, come together face to face. That is the why. The what. We did, coming together face to face, talking. Yesterday there was good presentations talking about the importance of dialogue from both sides. But as Kahurangi already mentioned, we wanted to be a bit more creative or go a bit more deeper and complex into that, and added performances and workshops to that come together as a way of introducing each other. It's not just the talk, you can also see or find out, try out by yourself. And those three parts prove to be very beneficial in that come together. How we did it. Last year was our first event. It was in Auckland. It was a 2-day event, but it was planned to be that 2 days a starting point, planting the seed, which then get watered over a year. And then a year later, this year, we have a second kanohi kitea, and together, let's look back how our journey got started, how our plant hopefully is popping out of the ground. With that first session in Auckland, 2-day event, good participation from circus leader, Maori organizations, disability organizations, Pacifica communities, and Kahurangi. I think that would be now a good time to not just talk about kanohi kitea, the events, how we came together, planted that seed. I think that would be now a good time to show the video, 5 minutes, so that you also see about what we are talking about. Please enjoy. So then it will be 35, and we have 15 minutes left. I'll give me plenty of time for questions. Yes. And if I don't, I've got my throat prepared. Good. Kahurangi. That was last year's, the very first Kanohi Kitea in Auckland.
It was.
This week, Monday, 2-3 days ago, we came back from Kaitaia, from the second Kanohi Kitea event in Kaitaia, where we reflected on our journey, what had happened through that year. And I'm so happy that we can say we have achieved what one of the presenters yesterday stated, what is very important. That was Anon here from Auckland, talking about the importance of genuine and authentic desire to come together. It's not something what you put out there. It has to be really coming authentic and yes, from both sides, in understanding, a commitment, a shared ownership, a balance of power. We talked about that, we reflected on that, and said, yep, in that year we have planted now a few more seeds and have sort of created the first, I call them safe spaces for circus practice, culturally safe spaces for circus practice. Yes, beside of that, coming back to also look a bit into the future, I'm really happy that we are now working on the first memorandum of understanding through partnership agreements with organizations, so that when we keep watering those seeds now, again looking into next year, coming together again, looking forward what has grown in terms of regional reach, but also depth and complexity of our shared spaces there. So that it's from me. Kahurangi, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, Thomas. I'm thinking it's time for some questions. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask us? No mai haere mai. No question is a stupid question, and all questions are good questions.
So Kahurangi, we're getting the information that is now that invitation put into the question and answer box, but there are no questions yet. That gives us a bit more space to go deeper. Kahurangi, what questions do you got asked in that year to that topic of Māoritanga and Circus Arts coming together? Highlights, challenges, what can you share?
Okay, well, I've got a few questions that I commonly get asked. One of them is, what circus are you with? That's a question that I get asked when I say that I work in the circus industry. And it reminds me that there used to be, actually, a handful of touring circus companies in Aotearoa, that including Zirka Circus, which was part of Flaming Phoenix Entertainment, and Circus Aotearoa, Aotearoa's first fully Kiwi-owned family circus, both of which toured in big top tents. And then there was Kids Day Out Variety Show and Circus Quirkus, which played in schools and community halls. And sadly, all of them stopped when the pandemic hit. What about a question that you get asked, Thomas?
Yes, we quite often get asked where we are operating in Auckland and Auckland-wide, but also with circuability based on my 10 years before circuability up north in Northland. That is our area where circuability is active now and is looking for those partnerships with Maori groups, Maori artists, up from Kaitaia down to South Auckland. Important in our work there, and we received an Access Aotearoa Partnership Award for that, is our work in partnership So when we come together, that the whole is greater than the summary of those parts. And with those partnerships, looking what is there on a locally basis, and really taking our time there on a regional but also on a national level. Get those different areas of where we want to engage with, looking for support, want to be active, finding the right partners for that. Looking at the question box, there's still space.
Oh, it looks like we have 2 questions.
Oh, very good. Let's have a look.
Alrighty. Our first question is, what do you see for the future of Māori circus going forward? What are you excited about? Alrighty. I'd love to service this particular question. As it so happens, 2 organisations that we have very loving and friendly connections with, the Dust Palace and Te Pou Theatre, are collaborating right now to create a kaupapa Māori circus school. And like any kaupapa, it's going to start small and it's going to grow very slowly. But like any seed, you've got to start small before it starts to grow and realize all the different fruits that it could bear. So that is definitely going to be something I'm going to be keeping a keen eye on as it develops.
Yes. Kahurangi, I would like to add to that.
Yes.
You talked about Dust Palace. We saw in the video I shared a statement, a quote from the director of Dust Palace, Eve Gordon, stating that Kahurangi and Thomas was probably the most important event for the circus sector last year.
Absolutely.
And for me personally, to see out of that planting of the seed what came out, that now we have also collaborations, partnerships coming up besides circuitability, where the sector gets active and looking around and forming partnerships. That is amazing. But also from our perspective, Kahurangi, with the social circus side, how is Maori circus going forward there? And this is how do we implement Maori customs into our circus practice, the other way around, and how can that be represented in shows like we just showed up in Kaitaia, finding ways to show it and through that make it accessible for people who want to follow that lead.
Indeed. Looks like we have a few more questions. This is a wonderful mihi. Hai whakamākuku i ngā kākano o te whakauru. Oh no, that question has gone. Well, that it looks like it was a mihi. O te whakauru. E aha ana koe kia nui ake te māramataka o te ao Māori ki roto i te whakahaere. Ki roto i tō whakahaere. Kia ora. How long have you both been practicing circus arts, and how did you get started? Righty, I'll take this one first.
Thank you.
I have been practicing circus arts for 16 years now. In fact, I can trace that date to the very happy 5th of November 2006, where I started my first circus course at Circo Arts, the old brick building in Christchurch, with Ollie Ricken, again another wonderful German clown. And how did I get started? Yes, that she was very much how I got started, and the fellow students of Circo Arts, the full-time course, they were very, very accepting, they were very warm, they were very welcoming, they loved training with me, they loved chatting with me, and they were very generous in showing me new skills. How about yourself, Thomas? How long have you been practicing circus arts, and how did you get started?
Yes, here we are looking at the early 1990s,
Aye.
coming out of East Germany into West Germany. And in East German times, I had worked in a factory where people with disabilities were working, and very monotone, repetitive, simple working stuff. And after work, when they left, some were lucky to leave for a home, but also quite a few went like to rest homes, looking very clinical. with not much community participation available and happening. So when East and West came together and you could start your own trust and organization, so we did. We set ourselves in a youth center and provided a variety of activities. One of those was theater. And by theater, I was looking, how do we get that started? They have never played theater, they have never been to a theater. It would be good to play something that is relevant to them, where they have an understanding which is fun and exciting. And then putting that together, the idea of circus came up, and good, let's do a circus production. And to do that, I had to learn by myself circus skills. So I looked around who could teach me juggling, acrobatic, unicycle riding, fire breathing, still walking. So I learned that in the morning and passed it on in the afternoon. And yes, and then that's how it started. We had our first performances, we had our first tours. We hired 2 years later already a circus tent in the center of town, close to the waterfront, where people with disabilities were working, and took it from there.
Alrighty, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful whakapapa of circus, a wonderful history of circus that has brought you on your journey, particularly as it comes to being a permanent manuhiri of Aotearoa. All right. This was one of our previous questions.
Yep.
To water seeds of engagement, what are you doing to bring more awareness of Te Ao Māori into and across your organisation? Righty. I'll approach that first. Thomas and Ariane and Mel, another of Circability's organisational crew, brought me on essentially as their cultural advisor. And one of the first things that I have to keep reminding them as cultural advisor is that I cannot speak for the same tikaka across Aotearoa, that every place we go to will have its own different tikaka, that every place we go to will have its own way of doing things. And that has been the case with going to Kaitaia. They do things slightly differently there than we would do in central Tāmaki Makaurau, which I believe is the place of Ngāti Whātua. Also, when it comes to the process of getting together via Porphyry, Circability asks that I do karakia for things like kai. I've told Circability that karakia are a very important part of Te Ao Māori, how we conduct ourselves, and that if you're learning, if you're making a serious start in Te Ao Māori, you should have at least 3 karakia in your kete. A karakia to open things, a karakia to close things, and a karakia for kai. That would be the main way in which we are watering those seeds of engagement at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Kahurangi. I would like to add there, how do we water the seeds? Yes, getting advice on board. And I would like to add there, with Circability, we have sort of 3 focus areas, 3 sector events. One focused on coming together with the Maori culture. Another one, the Youth Circus Festival, focused on youth engagement. And one, Celebrate Together, the International Day for People with Disabilities, coming together there. And important for us is that those events, not standing by itself, they are linked and connected. That Te Ao Māori is present in the Youth Circus Festival. That was amazing, how you and Vilmu really shaped that and added to it. Or with the International Day for People with Disabilities, how that is that part there. So giving visibility to raise awareness, and see how it can be implemented in training, what we just did last weekend, how we train our staff, raise awareness, and implement that into our service so that it can reach out to kindergarten, schools, disability organizations, community organizations, and share it that way. Yes.
And as I had previously mentioned, I took Circability through a workshop of basically going through the process of a pōwhiri, which will mean down the track that hopefully all of Circability's staff are able to conduct themselves with mana, with dignity, and with grace in terms of engagement with a pōwhiri, because a pōwhiri can feel quite intimate and daunting and strange to those who are as yet not accustomed to it. Now we have another question. What ways of approaching your partnership between Māori and Circability practitioners do you think have been instrumental to building those genuine relationships, partnerships and collaborations? Right, I think we may have answered those questions as we went along in some ways.
Yes, it has disappeared, the question.
Exactly. Are there any other questions that anyone is aching to ask us?
Good. If not, Kahurangi, what I would like to point out, and here we are back to us, how important to also answer that last question. What is instrumental there? What is important is that you speak with the right people at the right time, at the right place. I was looking around, asking around who to engage with, and the most instrumental, beneficial, productive ways to nurture that is meeting you. Finding a person where is a easy understanding, a connection, also a personal connection, where we both feel, oh, we have something to give, we have something to learn, we have something to contribute, and have that ongoing sharing present around us. So I want to use that public opportunity to thank you for coming on board, and also on a personal note, I much appreciate that we two leading that journey. Thank you.
Kia ora. It is my great pleasure. It has been a pleasure working alongside Circability for the past 2 years. May we have many more years ahead of us. And and I really hope that this is taken the right way. This is not an ego trip. May there come out to be more Māori like myself who love to explore circus and who love to use it as a means of expressing their identity on stage. Because as anyone who has watched kapahaka knows, Te Ao Māori has a rich history of performance, and I love kapahaka and I love watching Māori theatre, and I think that this is only the beginning, that we can explore so much more that we haven't explored already on stage, and that circus, like another tool in our kete, will become another means of storytelling Te Ao Māori on stage. And I think we will do it proudly, particularly on the world stage.
Thank you. Kahurangi, looking at the clock, we should be over time by now. I don't want that those who are joining us here or ourselves miss out on the next program parts of the Thank Day at the conference. I would like to thank everybody for joining in, listening, asking questions. We hope we could share our journey with you, and hope that at some stage you find ways to join us on this journey. Thank you very much.
Kia ora.
From me.
All right, I will close us off with the karakia that I usually use to close. Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia ki te uru tapunui. Kia wātea, kia māma, te kākau, te tinana, te wairoa i te ara takatū. Ko ia rā e roko whakairia ake ki ruka kia tina. Tina, haungie, huie, tai kie. Ka kite koutou katoa. Kia whai tō koutou rā.
Perfect. So, how do we get back in? $55 on time.
Very much on time.
I had 50. I got a bit worried with 50, but 55 on time.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Artist voices. Closing 3:15 to 3:35.